Transmission may now proceed.
Before he checks. What'd you do, son?
I missed the ball and hit my knee.
He hit himself in the shin with a racket.
No, the knee catch is in my kneecap.
Are you okay, buddy boy?
No.
Does it still move? Does it worky? Can I shake it?
No, painfully.
Here, brother. Come on. Come on, buddy. Yeah. Do your part, son. Do your part. Come on.
You know, it's not
Do you know the squirrel? You remember the squirrel?
Yeah. Actually, that's monkey.
All right, I'm gonna have to get him up.
That was a monkey, not a squirrel.
Well, yeah, monkey. All right. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go to this thing right here. Saw a couple things on this that I really didn't like, and I'll talk to you why I didn't like them. First of all, let me go to this. This is something I see all the time on fitness equipment. So, what we got going on here? This is rusting from the inside out. The reason this is rusting from the inside out is because whenever you have dissimilar metals joined together or welded, then you have a situation where temperature variations create currents inside of the metal. There's a thing called a Peltier effect. It's how that you can use, well, thermal piles and stoves work that way. It's whenever you get two dissimilar metals, and it depends on the metal and whatnot, what you're doing, but you can create current. It's like a anode and a cathode type situation. One deteriorates the other, so we get rust in this situation. So what causes this? The main cause of this is the process of coating didn't go well enough to protect the steel. So that's one cause of this. You can also, I mean, whenever you get into higher things like propane tanks and things like that, you'll have a separate anode bag that's buried in the ground, and the idea behind that is all of the corrosion will go to the anode that's buried separately from the tank. There's a whole thing behind that of reasons of doing that. Why is it so much more prominent on cheap material, cheaper made things? These particular pieces, if you'll look how the rust is forming in the cracks. So that's where you're going to see it on all of these places. That's where you're going to see the rust start to form. And the reason being is this isn't cleaned very well after, and you also see it where it rubs, where you rub through the coating. But predominantly where you're going to see it is in these cracks and crevices. Reason being, that joint wasn't prepped well. If you'll look at some of the joint preps that I do on some of the equipment, what you'll see is you'll see that I clean it off really well. Whenever you weld, you form an area of oxidation. That area of oxidation is it's a layer of rust, and it has to be cleaned off very well. A lot of times they'll acid dip parts, they'll wash them, acid dip them. Some people do a etching process to remove and roughen the edge before plating something. There's a lot to this. If you're looking at a piece of equipment and you see the welds and they're rough, odds are if they're welding it crappy, they're not prepping the weld properly, you're going to end up having this type of thing in these joints. That's just something that you're going to get. Equipment won't last as long because of all the things previously stated, but you can look at stuff like this, give you a huge indicator about the longevity of your equipment, from something simple about looking at how uniform the weld surface is. See, look at that flipping, or that just chipping off. Not trying to destroy their equipment or nothing like that, but you know, that wasn't prepped properly before it was coating. Doesn't matter what you coat it with, that ain't gonna work. It's my boy over there getting educated. This is the turret of the monitor. For those of you who are not history buffs, it was an ironclad boat during the Civil War. They shot at each other a bunch. It was really cool. What's that got to do with our fitness equipment? I got here, and guess what we've got? We've got a perfect example of how that interacts, or a property of it. So what we're doing here is they are protecting this in a similar chemical process as what you have in your role, they're kind of reversing it, is to what you have in your fitness equipment where dissimilar metals join. I know, crazy as can be. I'll take you over here to a chart, show you what they've got. So this is the object that has the dissimilar metals. Just like you might have with a propane tank, you'll have an anode buried somewhere separately. They're using a DC power supply, but you can get the current flow whenever you have the temperature differential between two dissimilar metals. Anyway, so they're using the same kind of thing to help reduce corrosion and reduce incrustation of this piece of Civil War history. Some of the same things that's going on with that can be going on with your fitness equipment in those jointed areas where that you have the dissimilar metals improperly prepared, and you start seeing that incrustation. I know, guys, kind of out in left field, but it's all joined together and rolled into one big dog thing. So anyway, Kai, good to go? You like it? Sweet.